Hello YouTube, my name is Nero and today we have some Call of Duty 4. I've been playing this game a lot recently, and what I wanted to do today is actually talk about the Perk 2 category, because it's by far, at least in my opinion, the most important perk in all of Call of Duty 4. Whatever you choose for your Perk 2 category is really going to determine what kind of a class you're actually going to run. It's more important than your primary weapon, it's more important than your first perk or your third perk. It's basically the perk that is going to determine how you're going to build the rest of your class. And what I want to do is actually go ahead and discuss this, because I'm excited for Modern Warfare Remastered. I think a lot of other people are as well, and as a result, there's a giant influx of new players playing Call of Duty 4, and I see these people running really weird class setups. People are using, for example, like an M16 without stopping power, or they're using something like a shotgun with stopping power, and things like that that just don't make a lot of sense. And since, of course, everything from Call of Duty 4 transfers over into Modern Warfare Remastered, I wanted to make this video explaining all the Perk 2s and talking about how they work with and against each other, and how that's going to affect Modern Warfare Remastered, so you guys can go into the game a little bit more educated than maybe you were previously. Let's start things off here by actually showing you guys the perks. Now, keep in mind, the tooltips in Call of Duty are notorious for being misleading and sometimes even false, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys all the perks here in Call of Duty 4's Perk 2 category, tell you what the game says that they do, and then tell you what they actually do. So let's start things off here with stopping power. It says that stopping power is going to increase your bullet damage, and that's actually a fact, but specifically what it does is it's going to take the bullet damage from all of your primary and secondary weapons and increase that by 40%. That makes every weapon basically kill in one less bullet, which is very nice, except of course snipers, but stopping power is basically essential on snipers to get one-shot kills consistently, but we'll be talking about that later on here in the video. It's also important to remember that with stopping power, it increases your minimum and your maximum damage by 40%. So essentially what this does is it's going to give you more range as well as more damage, which is fantastic. The next perk that we're going to be looking at is going to be Juggernaut, and this is a complete lie. It says it increases your health, but that's not what this does whatsoever. You don't go out there with more than 100 hit points or anything like that. What Juggernaut actually does is it makes it so you take 25% less damage from explosives as well as bullets. So essentially what this is it's kind of like Flak Jacket, as well as you take less damage from people's bullets, which is fantastic. The next perk is going to be Sleight of Hand, which says it's going to give you faster reloads, and it does by 50%. It's going to essentially cut your reload time in half. Next, we have Double Tap, which is going to be increasing your fire rate. It's going to do that specifically by 33%. Overkill is pretty self-explanatory. You carry two primary weapons, no pistol. I mean, you basically have an extra primary on your back instead of a pistol. Pretty self-explanatory. The UAV jammer here is going to make you undetectable on enemy radar. Now, that's kind of misleading. It will hide you from UAVs, and that's very powerful, because in Call of Duty 4, there's only 3 kill streaks, and everybody has those 3 kill streaks: UAV, airstrike, and attack helicopter. Therefore, everybody's using UAV. UAVs are going to be up nearly constantly. Once you get, a minute into a game, there's going to be basically a UAV up unlimitedly at that point. Like, it's a part of Call of Duty 4. So UAV jammer is very powerful, but you will still show up on the radar if you fire an unsilenced weapon. Just keep that in mind. And the last perk, of course, is going to be Sonic Boom, higher explosive weapon damage, which is slightly misleading. What this actually does is it's going to increase your explosive damage by 25%. This is very important for frag grenades, and we're going to be talking about that here later on. So the big perks here in Perk 2, the ones that people use more often than not, are going to be Stopping Power, Juggernaut, UAV Jammer, and sometimes Sonic Boom, depending on if they're a douchebag or not. So Stopping Power is obviously the most important one. Stopping Power is the perk that you see the vast majority of players using, and for good reason. It increases the damage of your weapons by 40%. What this does is it's going to take every weapon in the game, essentially, and make it so it takes one less bullet to kill. You can use this in combination with a perk like Deep Impact, which is going to allow you to shoot through objects, and suddenly you're just melting people through walls and stuff like that. It's a very good perk. It's used by just about everybody, but there's also Juggernaut. Let's talk about Juggernaut. Juggernaut is the counter to Stopping Power, and Stopping Power is the counter to Juggernaut. They cancel each other out. The same thing is true for Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom is the counter to Juggernaut, but Juggernaut's also a counter to Sonic Boom, and we're going to be talking about that here in the video. So let's say you have Stopping Power, and your opponent has Juggernaut. If you're shooting at him, suddenly he's not taking less damage because of Juggernaut, and you're not doing more damage because of Stopping Power. It's basically just canceling each other out for the most part, and it's as if you don't have either one of those perks actually equipped. Same thing is true for Sonic Boom. If you throw a grenade at somebody who has Juggernaut and it explodes, then it's going to be as if you did not have Sonic Boom on. It's going to be as if he did not have Juggernaut on. It's going to basically cancel it out. The reason why this is important is because these are the big perks that people would like to use, and these are the big perks that you should be using in Modern Warfare Remastered, because the rest of the perks really fall short if you really think of how effective they can actually be. Looking at stopping power, it does so much extra damage. You are essentially just melting people across the map all the time. You are very powerful, and it benefits almost every weapon in the game with the exception of shotguns. I've actually gotten a couple of questions from people asking, well, Juggernaut looks like a very powerful perk. It reduces all damage you take by 25%, counting explosives. Surely this is going to be powerful. And to them, I say, yeah, Juggernaut is powerful, and I actually use it in a lot of my videos, as you guys see, because right now there are so many snipers playing in Call of Duty 4 that I like to wear Juggernaut because it makes it so they're going to get a lot more hit markers on me. Again, if they're using stopping power on their sniper rifle and I'm using Juggernaut, it basically cancels each other out. So he's basically using a sniper rifle without stopping power. And if you're not using a sniper rifle without stopping power, then you have to hit somebody in the upper chest or the head to actually get a one-shot kill on them, right? So it's great to use Juggernaut against snipers because they have to be incredibly accurate. They don't have to like shoot you in the waist or shoot you in the lower chest, like in the abdomen, or shoot you in the leg or something like that. They have to get a good clean shot to your upper chest or head to get a one-shot kill on you, which is fantastic. So yes, Juggernaut is a very powerful perk, but it's only good on certain things. It's important to remember that the vast majority of players in Call of Duty 4 and then subsequently Modern Warfare Remastered are going to be running stopping power, and as a result, you're also going to probably need to be running stopping power to try to compete with them, otherwise they're going to be able to kill you very quickly. Now you could say, well, I'm going to use Juggernaut in every single class because if it's going to counteract their stopping power, then that's whatever. I mean, it's going to counteract their stopping power. And that's true, but you're going to find that it's just not nearly as effective. It just really isn't. And this is the reason why after World at War, they got rid of the Juggernaut perk, and after Modern Warfare 2, they got rid of the stopping power perk, because these two perks are way too powerful for any other perks to compete. I mean, we have something like UAV Jammer, which I see a lot of people running these days, which is a very good perk. It hides you from the UAV in a game where there are UAVs up almost constantly. It's a very nice perk, but by having that on there and trying to take on somebody who has stopping power, know that that person is 40% stronger than you already, just because you have UAV Jammer on. So how you can make UAV Jammer good is making sure you get the first shot on your target. Otherwise, you're at a big disadvantage against somebody with stopping power. Same thing is true for Juggernaut. If you're running around with UAV Jammer and you're shooting at somebody that has Jugg, it's going to take a while to kill them because they're taking 25% less damage from you. You don't have that counteractive feature from stopping power working with you when you're using UAV Jammer. Same thing is true for Sleight of Hand. People like 50% faster reloads, but is that really worth doing 40% less damage than somebody with stopping power, or doing 25% less damage to somebody with Juggernaut? Like, it's not that powerful. Same thing with double tap, increasing fire rates, or overkill. There's really no room for overkill in core. In hardcore, overkill is fine, and the rest of these perks are fantastic. Like double tap is amazing, sleight of hand is amazing, stopping power, believe it or not, is amazing. Same as Jugg in hardcore, but the vast majority of COD fans play the standard playlist, so we're going to be talking about core here. Just, there's no reason really to use anything besides stopping power and Juggernaut. But I do have people asking me, well, what classes can I recommend for using Juggernaut? I would say this is my favorite class to use with Jugg. It's the P90 here. And the reason why I choose the P90 is it's a very powerful SMG. Well, it's a mid-tier SMG, but the benefit it has is you have a giant magazine size, relatively low recoil, and a pretty good fire rate at the same time. So it's a very good gun. You don't really need to be too accurate to actually do well with it. And as you guys see in my videos using the P90, it's just very good. I like the P90 with Juggernaut. Same thing can be said for UAV Jammer. If you're going to be using UAV Jammer, keep in mind the big disadvantage that you're actually going to be at in Modern Warfare Remastered. Sure, you're going to be able to sneak up on people with your silenced MP5 or your silenced P90 or whatever silence gun you want to use, but know that you're doing a lot less damage than somebody with stopping power, and you're doing way less damage to somebody that has Juggernaut. And subsequently, if you're taking 25% less damage as someone wearing Juggernaut versus somebody who's using UAV Jammer, you're probably going to kill them faster because they're doing way less damage to you than you're doing to them, right? Juggernaut and stopping power power are incredibly powerful in Call of Duty 4, and subsequently they're going to be very powerful in Modern Warfare Remastered. And I just want to make everybody abundantly aware of that, right? Because it's very important that you understand how powerful stopping power and Jugg actually are. Now, Sonic Boom, I said we talked a little bit about Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom is going to increase your explosive damage by 25%, but the big deal, the big reason why people like using Sonic Boom is what it does is it's going to take the blast radius for a frag grenade, and it's going to increase the lethal damage from a frag grenade to the edge of that blast radius. So if you stand directly on top of a grenade, you're going to die to it. Of course, you're right there in the very middle of the explosion. But how many times in your Call of Duty career have you been on like the edge of a grenade where it says there's a grenade near you and it blows up and it hits you but it doesn't kill you and you survive it? That doesn't happen if the person is using Sonic Boom, unless of course you're using Juggernaut, because that's going to cancel it out. So Sonic Boom is very powerful, but it also cancels out Juggernaut the same way stopping power cancels out Juggernaut. It's very important that people understand how all these perks actually work with and against each other, because that's going to be a big factor in Call of Duty 4. And people ask me all the time about class setups and how I like to run my guns and stuff like that. In Call of Duty 4, I'm telling you guys right now, I run the most bare bones basic setup with the vast majority of my classes. Most of my classes you'll find will be Bandolier, Stopping Power, Dead Silence. Bandolier gives me increased ammo. It's basically like Scavenger Pro, except you don't pick up more ammo or packs or anything like that. You just start with a ridiculous amount of ammo. You have Stopping Power, increases all my bullet damage by 40%. Really nice. Dead Silence, people can't hear me sneaking up on them. If I maybe want to swap out Dead Silence, I'll go for Steady Aim for increased hipfire accuracy, but most of the time I'm just going to run Dead Silence. That is the vast majority of my classes in Call of Duty 4, and that's one of the reasons why I like Call of Duty 4 as much as I do, is because I can use these classes that are really basic. I'm not like going wild and crazy with all my classes trying to figure out some weird, strange combination to make things work. Just Bandolier, Stopping Power, Dead Silence on just about everything, and it's going to work out well for me. Aside from that, I pick my primary weapon, and I make sure my primary weapon has attachments that I like. And since Call of Duty 4 doesn't have a lot of attachments, it's usually a choice between no attachments, red dot sight, or silencer. That's really what it comes down to. But if you're looking for some classes for Juggernaut, I would recommend P90 with Juggernaut. Very, very good. Some people will recommend the MP5 with Juggernaut. I'm not a big fan of it personally. I prefer the P90 because it actually has an increased magazine size compared to the MP5, and as a result, you can spray and pray a little bit more. Whereas with the MP5, I just feel as though I'm running out of ammo, and I feel as though it's shooting weaker than it probably should. Some people will also say the AK-74U is good with Juggernaut. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really like it personally with Juggernaut, but that's just me. Maybe due to the fact that the AK-74U has assault rifle style hipfire. I don't like that gun with Juggernaut personally, and I would not recommend Juggernaut on any assault rifles, any light machine guns, any sniper rifles. Heaven forbid. If you're using a sniper rifle, use Stopping Power, unless it's the M21 or the Dragunov. If you're using the M21 or the Dragunov, doesn't matter, but if you're using the R700, the M40, or the Barrett 50 cal, make sure you're using Stopping Power, because if you're not using Stopping Power, you have to hit them in their upper chest to their head to get a one-shot kill, which most snipers don't like that. I would definitely recommend using Juggernaut, or really anything besides Stopping Power, on the shotguns. And the reason why is the shotguns, you're not going to get a big range increase from Stopping Power. It's a little bit of a range increase, sure, but it's not a giant one, and you already do enough damage within your effective range to get a one-shot kill with a shotgun anyway. So if you're using a shotgun, don't use Stopping Power. Use Juggernaut, Sleight of Hand, Double Tap, UAV Jammer, whatever it is you want to use, but just don't use Stopping Power. But for the rest of the guns in the game, Stopping Power is pretty much the go-to perk in Call of Duty 4. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I hope you guys all found it helpful and informative. And if you did, please drop me a rating and let me know down there in the comment section below, what are some of your favorite classes to use in Call of Duty 4? I'll go ahead and show you guys my classes right here. These are the 5 classes that I run with the most personally, and the ones that I have the most success with. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.